Do you want to talk about the kind of reforms you would have liked to see the games press make?
Ah. Do you want a list? Okay. One, definitely know your audience. Two, never, ever, ever flame your audience. Three, stop trying to create anger among your audience for clickbait purposes and outrage. Now, this is like 10 years ago. I think most games people in like the space, especially on Twitch, especially on Twitch, have realized you cannot have a sustainable industry by having outrage clicks. Four, if you do not like your job, leave. Do something else. I'm begging you, do what makes you happy. Life is too damn short to be spending your time trying to write games articles on a game, one, that you hate, two, that you're not allowed to say you hate, and three, when you hate the people who are reading it. Like, there were so many articles I read during GamerGate that were just, they were not games reviews. They were cries for help. And I would get a lot of anti-Gamergate who would link these and be like, this is poetry. This is the best games article from any games journalist. And I was like, that's not a games article. That's literally a cry for help. That person is in pain. They're in absolute emotional turmoil. They hate their job, they hate their life, and you should be helping them, not forcing them to continue in this place that they're in. That's not healthy for anyone, and they're taking it out on people who actually love things. What are you doing? So, yes, definitely do what you love. And, like, I don't know, six, no paycheck can ever be worth your time. Okay, time is the most valuable thing you have. So, if anything, you should always be earning a paycheck so that you can spend your time doing what you love. Now, I've gotten way more into that after the coma for obvious reasons. But even before the coma, I was very much strong on that, and we try to tell journalists, like, straight up, stop it. Get out of this industry. It seems to be killing you. Like, do not do this to yourself. I get it. Like, I too am a writer. I too am like broke as fuck. It's not worth it. I promise. There's like, just do anything else. You could do bricklaying. You can do anything else, but do not hate yourself this much. Just love yourself. I'm begging you. Somebody loves you. Even if just a little, and I too love you enough that I am saying, please don't hurt yourself like this. If you hate this, stop doing it. Like, be free.
Okay. Well, hey, if you were the editor in chief of a gaming website and some of your employees were credibly accused of ethical violations, what would you have done?
Complete and total overhaul. Well, depends. I mean, credibly accused. So, yeah, complete and total overhaul. Lay out a strict list of what our standards are. Also, public transparency. You want to talk to the people who read and fund you, not fund you as in the publishers. I know that's where most of Games Press gets their funding now, but in theory, the actual readers, because even then, even with the publishers aren't going to be funding you if you have no readers. So you want to talk to them too and see what they want to do. Now, to be fair, I did actually have Stephen Tortillo and a few other actual editors in chief talk to me, Archon 2 from The Escapist, saying, what would you like to see for transparency on our games media? And some of them did at least try to make changes, and I appreciate that very much. And I did try to keep reading some places. I definitely stopped Kotaku. I put in like, I still have the Gamergate block up on my Chrome. Like, yeah, I've lost all my links, but I've got that Gamergate blocker. Anyway, so among them, certainly just divorcing the sheer incestuous nature obviously working harder on divorcing from the publisher access journalism. I don't think at this point that it's sustainable for a lot of them, but on the other hand, certainly Twitch streamers and Forbes seem to be doing fine. So I don't think it's not that it's unsustainable. I think that they're just Kotaku and certain other places just sort of cater towards either children who don't know better, or they have a dwindling audience that are just fed via,
Well, hang
the
on.
publishers.
I mean, some people might like social justice articles, right? There probably is like a market
I like
for
social
that.
justice articles. I too am a social justice
In
warrior.
gaming, though, I mean.
Again, I am a social justice warrior. I don't think that's the problem. I think using that as like a front to not talk about games, that's kind of a problem. And that's more like Polygon than Kotaku, I would say.
Okay. What? I know you said you saw my interview with Koretsky. I'm not sure if you saw the whole thing. Did you see the whole
I
thing?
didn't. I only got like half hour, I think. 'Cause I had to eat and stuff.
Okay. Well, what did you think of SPJ Airplay?
I actually did see that live, not in person, but while it was playing live. I found it very interesting. I followed, I still follow, and if I could remember the name, that would be fantastic. What's her name?
Was she one of the panelists?
Yes.
Ash Scow or Christine Summers or Kathy Young?
No.
Lynn Walsh?
Kathy Young. I already followed Christina Summers. I actually had read her book on education back in 2000, I think it was when it was published, because my brothers have ADHD and I was trying to like figure out how to fix the school system and deal with sort of the problems they were having in education versus me. I breezed through. So anyway, I read her book, so I'd been following Christina Summers, but I followed Kathy Young after that and have spoken with her a bunch. She's very great. I love her.
Yeah, I'm probably interviewing her. She is got to clear it with some people as well, with her
Yes.
boss. But assuming her boss is
Right.
okay with her doing it, or her media company or whatever that she works for, assuming that they're okay with it, I'm interviewing her. Um, and she's like a big pro-Ukraine person right now, which I'm a very big
Yes.
pro-Ukraine person as well. I don't know how you feel about that, but
Yes. I extremely, extremely. So I actually had been following Ukraine, and one of the reasons I got into really linking so much journalism and hardcore on the journalism ethics, I was following it back when they first had the Orange Revolution. So I have been in it since Poroshenko and Yanukovych. And I actually, even like some of the Trump stuff, I kept being like, oh, he's just pulling a Yanukovych here. And I know that my friends, at least, who were with me back then, which was a very long time ago because I was before Gamergate. And that was actually another reason I was following Gamergate, was because I had been following the Yanukovych. Now, I was already kind of anti journalism in the US because of how poorly they handled the Orange Revolution. Now, also because it was post Occupy Wall Street, and they were kind of worried, oh, this is what that's going to be like. And I was kind of more like, this is exactly how it's going to play out here, and everyone needs to pay attention. And I kind of felt let down that most journalists were not paying attention. So I had gotten very used to trying to find alternative sources on news or on the ground footage when it came to Ukraine. So yes, I'm also extremely pro-Ukrainian, because I'd had to make like literal friends who spoke English in Ukraine so I could get information because I was like, I need better sources than what I'm getting in the States. And so I was linking other people too and helping journalists find it. And that was well before Trump. So, and before Putin even went into Crimea, I was covering that when it happened. Actually, I think I have it still up on my like dream with and whatever. Some of it.
Well, hey,
Anyway, yes. So
oh, I was just gonna say after I'm covering the GamerGate stuff and finish the book, and probably like while I'm working on the book too, I plan on doing a lot of Ukraine discussions and debates against people who are anti-Ukraine. And so stick around.
um
You might find some content you like.
yes,
You've got some stream
I
access too, so you can jump in sometimes.
recommend also talking to Laserpig, who I followed before all that. He kicked off very much in popularity because he talked to Gonzalo Lira. And I don't know if you know Gonzalo Lira.
I don't.
Okay, so he's anti-Ukraine, but he is the funniest freaking story. So one of the comics I'm doing is actually called like Goblin Panic, and I have a Goblin King in it and a Goblin Separatist, and Gonzalo Lira is basically the Goblin Separatist. So he goes off and he buys a swamp because the Goblin King had bought a swamp, and he literally he was part of the not MGTOW group, but very much like men should be more manly. And he was like, we're going to set up this man camp in Ukraine. And everyone's like, what are you doing? He's like, listen, Putin's not going to invade Ukraine. He's just tricking Ukraine. He's just faking them out. We know he's not going to invade because he told us he won't invade. And we were all like, bro, what are you doing? So he goes to Ukraine. He buys his like farmland, quote unquote, and he's gonna have like men training and all this other stuff, and Putin invades. And the day Putin invaded, he had to go into Kiev to get like formalized paperwork on his whole being there and legal rights, and just watching his utter meltdown was insane. It was like legendary stuff. So then he also was like,
Well, let's not focus too much on like this random person because
yeah, the
this
point
is
is he
going into a book.
definitely.
And look, I admit, I'll be entirely honest with you, and I think this interview has mostly gone kind of disastrously. I
I'm
think that's a lot.
sorry. Yes,
No, I think that's a
I'm.
lot about my fault because like I'm
No,
supposed to be like able to control the conversation to an extent. But I have like I'm
I'm
like okay,
all over the
I
place.
want to like give people it seems like we're just getting off topic, and the Ukraine thing was entirely
I
on me.
did that.
I did not mean
No,
to. I did not mean to. So that's my fault. The Ukraine thing was my fault.
no,
I
it's
was going to
me.
mention it as an aside, and then I'm like, you know what? Let's explore this, especially since like there's probably a It's probably important actually to explore, even though it's off topic, because there's going to be a perception. Who knows, man? The people who
I will
hate.
say, put down a note. Look up Laser Pig versus Gonzalo Lira. He
Is it like
got
a
very
stream debate?
drunk
Oh my god!
on
No, no, no!
TikTok.
Stop. Okay. Okay. I I thought it was kind of important too to discuss because I don't want
Well,
there
I
to
think
be
it
this
was
false
in Gamergate.
perception. I don't want there to be this false perception that like, oh, the gamer gators are pro Putin, because like people are gonna say that
No, God,
maybe,
I'm
and like
so.
that's
Like I
totally
said,
not
I've
true.
had.
Like there might be like one or two people who are like crazy pro Russia people now. Like shit, like a third of the
I
Republican Party
actually
is,
don't
but
know any.
but but
I think Gonzalo Lira was in Gamergate, but I personally
well, I
like
don't.
had fuck in as my Twitter handle for like a couple years.
Yeah. So like obviously I wanted to like sort of like I wanted to delve into it a little bit because I thought it's important to show that look, we're pro democracy. We're pro freedom.
Yes.
Right? Like not everybody. I mean like there's probably like crazy people out there who
Yeah.
supported Gamergate and are like now if like I don't know what Ethan Ralph's view on Ukraine is, but but like a lot of us are pro freedom and pro democracy. That's part of our values. And it was part of our values
Yes.
during Gamergate too. And like maybe you shouldn't maybe you should keep an open mind because like we are pro Ukraine, we are pro freedom, we are pro democracy. Not everybody, but like a lot of people are. But I kind of got us a bit far afield. I maybe shouldn't have brought it up, but I thought maybe it's worth including in the book so we can because I didn't know what your view was. I really didn't know. I didn't know because I know some far
Yeah.
left people, some not you, maybe not even most, but some far left people are like tankies, and they're like, "Oh
Yeah.
no, everything America
Little
does is
tankies.
evil. America is evil. Democracy is evil. The EU
To be
is
fair,
evil." Those kind of people. So I didn't know
to be
if you were
fair,
in that
most.
camp more
Yeah.
or more in like the pro democracy camp.
No, I was I, I was fighting tankies early in the days of Gamergate too because I just a lot of them were anti Gamergate. But yeah, like to be fair, most tankies have kind of shut up because what Putin's doing is very obviously war crimes, and that's just undeniable.